Awesome. Super, guys. So we're kicking off with the topic of growing online sales for brick-and-mortar retail this year specifically. And I'll guide through why we actually got into this topic. Um, we've been running the dinners with executives from top retailers across the globe in Zurich, in London, New York City, Sydney. There were more than 20 dinners, I think, happened in total for the last 12 months each and every. So it was informal gathering for e-com executives, specifically from the retail business. And on each of these dinner guests, like we were not just having fun, we were not just enjoying the atmosphere or nice food or wine. It's for sure all was there, but we've been sharing the industry insights. We've been sharing what we feel is happening on day to day in operations on across all the globe. So, and we've been actively listening and making notes to have a better understanding what are these real pain points and the topics that are like all the top CIOs, CTOs, CMOs, CEOs of the retail businesses are speaking about. And we got a quite a long list. So that's what we heard for the last 12 months. That were the most common topics appearing. Online channel is stagnating. E-commerce accelerating is slowing down. Always after the COVID. Store managers do not see online as a benefit. Team doesn't embrace omnichannel, uneducated store staff, no real-time stock availability, impossible to return in channels. So there are plenty of the challenges that have been addressed over the tables, and everyone were able to share their practical solutions to them, how it worked for them. So today, we selected top five that are the most frequent ones that were gaining executive support for line investment, internal cannibalization of sales between online, offline, misaligned KPIs, and alike. So we selected top five challenges that have been shared across these events for the last 12 months. And today we are going to address them, summarizing the practical solutions for them and what actually leading to these challenges in the organizations. So quite a fruitful webinar is expected. First, let's just a bit look at the industry and where it was moving for the last few years or even dozen of years. But the quick topic, I think there can be some questions popping up while you're enjoying it. Some of you can be on a walk, some of you are going to the office, some of you already going from the offices. So please drop up any questions right in the chat. We'll try to process them afterwards. Also, will be some Q&A boxes appearing. Feel free to participate, and we will afterwards process everything and personally follow up if any questions will be still unanswered. Well, let's go. So, looking at the industry. So, if you look at overall e-commerce, it's that's a graph from the US specifically. From for the last 25 years, it was slowly growing. It was growing all the time with the strange things happening during the COVID, which accelerated everything, obviously. But now, after the COVID, there is still a very positive trend line happening. So it's $1 trillion business. It's steadily growing. So what you can see on the chart is the percentage of the e-commerce within the retail in US. Within the overall retail and addressable retail is the ones that excludes car parts and the fuel. So it's steadily goes up. If you look at the UK, for example, so it was US, UK, we also see there very good like overall growth happening. But here we can see the segmentation between the non-food segments, since we know that food is more frequently purchased in the physical stores, brick and mortar. So if we take the share of the non-food in the UK, it's even around 40%, which is even more, and it's on a good trend line happening. And with this new channels appearing, In that case, it's this online that was appearing for all the stages. It also gives possibilities for new winners to come to the retail. And Shane is a great example there. Shane, online only retailer, within the apparel, they became a winner in the industry. So they really overcame such global guys as H&M, Gap, etc. They're now the leading apparel industry, being the online only. So whenever new channels appearing, it's a great possibilities to get to the winner stage. And now the same journey is happening with the AI that we shouldn't forget. And that would be another online as it was back then from the 2000. So what we'll be covering today, in essence, is not looking at how we can just make enhancement in this online business, but look at the total business as a whole. So we don't care if online will be generating a few more millions, but what we really need to do to grow the total business and how all digital experiences can help there. If you'll be dropping off at this slide, that's the main things for you to know as your motto for ecom director or CTO, CIO for whatever. Main things that needs to be remembered for this year is that speed and convenience will outperform everything else. Omnichannel is non-negotiable. The line between online and offline is blurring. We all know really about it. AI and automation will separate winners from the losers. Social and conversational commerce is the next big sales channel, and customer loyalty will be harder to maintain, but more valuable than ever. These are let's say, if you need to stop here, this kind of the main topics to keep in mind for us during this year. But usually, the most interesting things are hidden within the details. So that's why we are going further and not to stop on generalizing the things and looking at some trends, but looking much more practically within the challenges that are being brought up by real retailers working day to day in the business and seeing what are the practical solutions out there. So let's jump into these five challenges we have heard during the dinner. And here with you today, me, Gleb Sprevskis. I'm a co-founder member at ScanDevApp, and I'll be diving deep into the technological and customer experience topics today. And there is also Andres joining from the bit other side of the less technological, more on the marketing side, on customer experience side. So, Andres, feel free to drop into the first challenge. I'm giving you a share possibilities, and we can see your screen very well. Let's go on.
Very good. Very good. Figured it out. And happy to present from the marketing side today and getting into the challenges. So, the first one we've heard quite a lot across the table is that it's impossible to personalize communication to the omnichannel customer. And it can be divided into smaller challenges that we've been able to identify. And the first one we highlighted to this image. If anyone can quickly guess what it is, two people rowing at completely different directions, then it does emphasize the different teams for online and offline marketing. Sometimes they don't really work in sync, but other times it's more a bit technical issue that we're facing. So people are believing, businesses are believing that they're gathering a lot of data, but in reality, the data that they gather or leverage is just the tip of the iceberg. And more frequently, the offline data is the one that's not being fully captured or leveraged. In addition to that, we can also have a lot of different data points, but no real single place to see unified customer analytics. There are data in silos for offline, for online, also occasionally for mobile apps and other touch points. And there's just no sufficient way to visualize it all together. If you also capture yourself thinking that some of these points are relevant to you, then you are not alone in this. Actually, 35% of the companies feel that they have successfully achieved omnichannel personalization, which is, if you think of the whole business landscape of industries working with omnichannel opportunities, that's still quite low. So, what could be the solutions? And the first solution that we want to highlight is actually, in theory, it's quite simple, and it's really goes down to the basics, is to ensure that you fix the silos between retail and online marketing teams to ensure that both sides really see each of the sources as a benefit and something that really helps the other to grow in sync. And for that, there needs to be a strategic alignment. There needs to be processes, education, and also reward for people working offline to uh, propagate online activity. So teams need to come together and really embrace working in sync and having this omnichannel first mindset. That also uh, goes into something that we'll cover a bit deeper in the upcoming slides, but how to really remove that idea that online is cannibalizing your offline business. I'll and to continue on these topics for solutions for the previously mentioned pain points, then another big thing is cross-channel data collection and sharing. And that's where CDP's customer data platforms come into play. Customer data platforms, for those of you that don't know, they collect, process, and then unify your customer data. So wherever your consumers shop, even if it's an offline store, if set up properly and through techniques that help to capture the data, then we can map out that this customer, let's call her Jane, was visiting your offline store. They purchased something. This data is being sent back to the customer data platform, and that then unifies and leverages this and shares it across all of these different verticals of your business and marketing channels. And through that, we're also able to really act upon that data and personalize the experience for those customers. So there are three pillars of CDPs, and the first is to listen. So it really has to ensure that your digital channels have the capability, also your offline channels have the capability to send that information over to these platforms, to gather it, to process it, and then understand your customers. Out of this data that we collect, we can start to segment those customers based on their interests, based on their demographics, and more. And then the most important fact is to really, really leverage it and act upon the data that we gathered and make sure that we use it across different marketing channels with this additional leverage. So it is important component to really act upon and ensure that everything everywhere across the business verticals we're working at, whether it's offline, whether it's online, we don't lose any data, and CDP can come in hand to help to share it across different parties involved. What's the side effect? And it's a good side effect, actually. Side effect of a proper omnichannel marketing is hyper personalized experience. And I know that personalization has become sort of a buzzword in marketing over the years. But if you really compare a regular multi channel marketing where offline is pushing for some offline ads or pushing for some individual advertisements, then email marketing has its own data silo, its own profiles built. Then there's web, then there's paid channels, and really they don't know what the other channels have been marketing, what the customers have been purchasing. But through leveraging CDP, we're able to create this harmony where all of these sources, rather than working in silos, work together to promote information based on the previous knowledge. And with that, we have reached the end of the first section, where I should give the floor back to Glebs briefly. Glebs,
Absolutely.
here. Good.
So we are continuing. Yes, sir. Yes, we'll need to jump off from my screen to Andres and back. But it will can make it more engaging, perhaps. So the second challenge that we've been hearing over these dinners, over the meetings with the top retailers across the globe, is that it's Like we have inefficient marketing spend. It's hard to measure digital marketing spend on offline channels. And very frequently, we are in the shoes of the detectives, like Sherlock Holmes, like having this pain point or difficulty of tracking ROI across channels, figuring out, okay, we invested 50,000 there, 100,000 there. Is really my digital marketing spend affecting offline as well? Is my ads that I run for branding, how does it affect online? How does it affect offline? That's real pain point, as from what we heard. Second pain point is within the customer data. And it's very fragmented, like this puzzle on the image. There are a lot of small pieces. Some pieces coming from POS machine, some pieces coming from the legacy ERP system, some pieces from my online platform and some other CMS platforms, some from customer support. And all of them are really fragmented due to the legacy, due to a lot of systems we've been having and it's not something that can be very easily solvable. So these are the pain points, and if it feels like you're having some of them, as Andres also mentioned, you're not alone here as well. Since only 32% of companies they have managed to unify online and offline data for tracking marketing spend efficiently and to optimize the marketing channels further. Only 30%. So majority are not doing it properly, but it doesn't mean we should not be. So when you speak about the offline and online and the marketing in between, it's all about really interconnecting the data transfer for them and pushing it within the digital channels. So from the online to the offline, we should be running online to offline campaigns, or we should be really geo-targeting based on offline behavior. We should personalize upsell campaigns based on the purchase history on all channels. We can also capture lead digitally and offer them options to convert physically if they want so. From offline to online, we really need to give this data on offline customers' behavior. Uh, like we need to give it to better target, to better have our online campaigns. And that's where this magic happens when we are really unifying all this data and we are also having offline and online data sitting, living together in this one database. So let's look at the practical solutions. These are all sounds nice, but okay, how do we practically reach these results? In essence, two things: use offline data to optimize online campaigns and apply proper attribution modeling. All right, still quite generalized. Like we just use offline data to optimize online campaigns. It's easy, but we are here to dive deeper. So how actually we can do it? So let's review the options and where journey starts. So there are many technologies out there that allow to pass your offline behavior, offline user behavior to the online. There are different technologies for different needs. Some of them you need, some of them you do not need. All of them have advantages and disadvantages. We won't dive much into them, but let's review the most popular ones. And each of them have the third-party providers. There are popular solutions, not popular solutions. Yeah, that's a whole big world. If you'll need the comparison, please just write to us afterwards. Let's review the most popular ones. There are the beacons that are look like that in the top left corners that are quite cost effective. They rely heavily on the Bluetooth and the apps. There is a computer vision, so all these cameras in store that can analyze the visitor tracking. They can understand demographics of the people, what age they are, where they move, to which shelves they go, and if they are connecting to the Wi-Fi. It's even the best that we can leave this digital footprints there. And they're app dependent and can work passively. You do not need really to ask users much for it to work. That's the most, say, modern and the scalable solution nowadays. There is a UVBs that are like beacons, but with much more precision. RFIDs that we all know if we experience the seamless self-checkout process, going to, for example, Decathlon or like retailers, where you just put product on a checkout place and it magically knows what it is without scanning. Leaders are there for creating spatial maps, but you don't really need it in connection to online revenue, or you don't get much benefit out of it. And there are the NFCs, which we all use daily with our Apple Pays and like stuff, but they have a different use cases. So there are technologies that can be embedded within the offline retail. In essence, but there are many of them. But we have summarized like three practical steps. If you will just need to start from something, we suggest these three steps. First, get the mobile app and incentivize the users to use it in stores, because mobile app it has more access to the phone than any web application. And by people going in store and using this mobile app, for example, you're scanned for a loyalty program or for any other reason, it's a good reason for user to bring up this app and to show it to the cashier. But it's when the app is up and the Bluetooth is enabled, you can track them very, very well as well. And enabling digital recipes will make it even more bulletproof as a solution, and then installing the beacons or Wi-Fi analytics in your stores. You can then even connect it much better to their offline behavior. So you'll need to connect this offline data points to the offline or online data points, and then you'll be able to even tell who abandoned my checkout experience within the store and then retarget them online. Isn't it cool? Isn't it in some cases against this privacy concerns? But it is not if you do it properly, if you really integrate it. So you're not going to tell like by the people face, you're not going to play the face recognition game and map it with loyalty. You are doing it in a smarter way. So there is a way to do it really more precisely. There is a way to do it like with a wider targeting, but there is a way of doing it. And the thirdly, but actually the first thing, what Andres already mentioned, it's all of this data need to get to the unified data foundation, to the CDP. It all need to live in the single place. Microsoft Fiber now is being a popular solution among the enterprises, since Microsoft in some way is winning the AI race. And we heard from a lot of customers that are going to the Microsoft Fiber as a Microsoft Fabric as a first as a first destination to set up this data foundation within their company. So these three steps, we see it as the most straightforward and budget-friendly way into connecting offline with online more properly. Let's look at the second solution, then applying proper attribution model. So attribution model meaning how we can actually attribute that this digital ad, it's brought so much money in this channel, being it offline or online or anything else. It's a usual problem even like within proper online advertising, right? We can't well understand who attributed to it. Is it SEO? Is it PPC? Is it Snapchat? Is it our viral influencer that we purchased on Instagram? It's hard to have a proper attribution, and even more harder to have it applied not only for digital but to the offline. But there's a ways of doing that. And again, we're coming to the third solution. So it's you see how it's all interconnected. To have a good attribution model, you need to invest heavily in this unified data foundation and in the CDP. Without it, you won't be able to have a precise attribution modeling. It's a place where you aggregate and normalize the data from all the customer touch points, and then you can play with them. Then you can play, you can have certain ML models, and your data guys can do further magic with it. Speaking about unifying data foundation, then like if you decided, yeah, we are going to do it, or we already have it, or we are planning to do it, there are still different levels of how deep you can go with it. Let's review the main three. So there is the data, yes, sorry, Google logo needed to appear here a bit later. So I'll explain now what role Google plays here. But in essence, for data foundation, you have options such as Amazon Redshift, OneLake from Microsoft, BigQuery from Google, Snowflakes, many options to have your data lakes, data warehouses. It's all there. It needs to be part of the journey. Then there are CDPs on the other side. such as Bloomreach, the best platform we work so far, Segment, Adobe Real-Time CDPs, and many other CDPs out there. As Andres already explained, they can be more closer to the activating the data. So there are more customer-centric data and there is more segmentation happening. While within Data Foundation, you usually have the raw data sitting, then within CDPs, you already work on the segmentating and then activating the data further, passing it to the activation platforms, either through the emails or SMS or something else. And then there are multi-touch attribution tools as well in between, such as Norrisbeam, Rockerbox, models within the Google available. So you will need to at the end merge all of them, all of these tools together to have a really working attribution model for the offline plus online. It's quite, I would say, heavy information. Each of these topics you can dive much, much deeper inside. But one thing to take off from it is that data foundation is the right start, especially now with AI being here. It's a real necessity to have it to further in it then later to train your models from this data foundation. Now we are getting to the third topic out of five, and Andres is taking over for a while.
Very good. Yes, I am now covering another topic that's come up quite frequently, which is losing the digital native brands that offer low costs and better customer experience. And more specifically, what we see and what we experience from business owners and teams is that the landscape of both online and offline tools is constantly changing. Within marketing, especially, there are new tools, new platform, new approaches. It is very difficult to keep up with all of this and to have all of this digital experience in house. Another pain point is when it comes to market expansion. There are several challenges. Actually, there's quite a lot of challenges with market expansion, especially for businesses operating both offline and online. Often they're not willing to expand just based on the online store, and that can be a big challenge. Another thing is that in a lot of cases, retail first mindset is more common than omnichannel first mindset. So businesses see their offline stores as the main revenue generators, which often they are, but online just this small thing that it's done, it's there, it's serving its job, and we don't see any reason to invest in it. So, what can we do in this case? This is really interesting to note out that 64% of consumers purchase directly from brands, bypassing traditional retailers. What does this piece of statistics mean? It means that even if businesses are successful in offline retail regionally, they're not really competing only with the same stores in the same country, but rather they're competing with the whole digital landscape. And recently, Shane and Temu are very good examples of how they have managed to achieve online expansion success, bypassing a lot of traditional retailers. But what can you do? And what can you do in this competitive landscape, both online and offline? It still falls to the basics to know your customer from inside out. And in many cases, people think they know their customers. They can map out some basic demographics, even look at the purchase history, take some bits from web analytics and past behavior. But in today's age, it's just not enough in most cases. So you should really go and study your customers, conduct in segment analysis of their behavior. So a lot of businesses have different client profiles. It's necessary to understand how each of them uh, purchase, how each of them navigate your site, map out those customer journeys, and gather real time feedback from your customers. And businesses should be courageous enough to go out and ask their customers what are they looking for in the stores, what is currently missing, what should be the added value to their current customer journey. And some tools to really leverage that is to offer incentives for your customers to participate in interviews, gather their feedback post purchase on site or through marketing channels. This really helps to build this complete picture and understand what are those bottlenecks that the customers are experiencing. Thirdly, you should observe your customers. And again, going back into offering some incentive to them, you should really take a few people that match your customer segments, give them specific tasks, and really see how they navigate your site. What is it that they're looking for, and what are they reporting missing? And of course, you can also do other sorts of usability tests that are beneficial to gathering those data points about missing features, about uh, confusion areas, and to paint a more clear picture. And again, as with CDPs, the most important thing is to act upon the knowledge, to test your customers. And A/B testing is a good way to do it, to map out different segments of consumer personas and start to test different design and functionality changes, see how they react, gather real time data, and make data driven decisions rather than implementing something off of best guess. So, getting to the second solution, digital first product catalog. And here's a good example. So, when you go to a physical store, when you go to something specific, a car dealership, what happens is you get approached by a salesman who starts to ask you questions. They ask what type of vehicle you're in the market for, how many people you got usually seated in the vehicle, how long does it have to run, do you prefer electric cars or combustion engines? And in a lot of cases, when you go to an online store, it's just blank information and one size fits all. But we know that different consumer profiles, different segments of customers tend to browse slightly differently. They might have different needs, they might be looking for different products. And you should really think about it. And here in this slide example, you can also see the same product category presented on the left hand side just as a product, but on the right hand side, the business is not really selling an air purifier per se, but rather they're emphasizing on storytelling elements. They're selling cleaner air, improved sleep, and a peace of mind. And on top of that, the air purifier fits into customers' living space nicely. So there are important aspects of digital product presentation. And as we know, when people land on any site online, there is a very short window when they evaluate the site just by feeling the look and feel, the design. This is called the first glimpse, and that happens relatively quickly. We're processing something subconsciously pretty fast. But after that, the whole process of consideration goes down to understanding if what I'm looking at currently is really solving my needs. So, and if the customer is able to find specific use cases that match with their needs, then the action happens and they add the product to the cart and continue, hopefully, the purchase. So, to emphasize once more, crafting compelling stories and product pages is super, super important. Uh, in 2025, we're not selling products, we're selling stories, and we need to communicate, or at least try to transition the same experience of a clerk approaching you and explaining you why this product would be a great fit in your use case. We need to achieve this level of storytelling also online. And secondly, what it helps us to do is build confidence on product pages. So to visually support the key elements, what this product is for, what are its unique attributes, is it going to be for the user's use case, is super, super important and helps to build confidence. And the same, everything that we build online actually in the omnichannel experience can be transitioned to offline experience as well. People browsing different products offline, they're able to scan certain QR codes or elements that would take them online, and the online experience would complement the offline browsing with added details, with variations that they can explore, alternative products, outfit combinations. So there are businesses that have really achieved this clever combination where one channel doesn't really compete with another, but rather supports it. And There's also examples where online product presentation can really be brought into the brick and mortar stores if it's something we want to showcase a unique product or the product has limited variations within stores. It really helps to solve and showcase the variety of different options the product has. And to again emphasize, as we did in the previous sections, through gathered data, through unifying the customer profiles, we're able to create personalized experiences. And as I mentioned, in today's age, consumers are expecting personalized approaches. They're expecting the recommendations, the content to be tailored to them, and often a one size fits all approach just doesn't work. There are different levels of personalizations, and obviously, we're trying to strive for having all of these in use, but it can all start with simple things. Having personalized product merchandising and product recommendations on the site, personalizing certain pages, such as the homepage for returning and new visitors, and then deeper and deeper segments that we were able to map out with customer data platforms. And later reaching to a point where online and offline work in sync through an effective loyalty program. There are also tons of different ways to leverage AI in personalizing a shopping experience. And again, it can benefit from all of the previously gathered information. CDPs can share it with different tools to ensure that the AI agents, for instance, that are on your site offer personalized recommendations. They know previous purchasing info, they know what the user is interested in through first party data or third party data, and they're able to offer what they're looking for. And also, just briefly, you can explore them. Where to get started? There are several different tools on the market to start with to map out what do you need in order to personalize your experience, such as Clevu, ConvertFlow, Algolia, Dynamic Yield, Bloomreach, all very good tools to start with. And it all comes down to the loyalty program. If we want to achieve an omni-channel experience, we need to have a strong loyalty program as the foundation to connecting those offline visitors with online, feeding the data into CDPs, and then to other channels and tools that could work seamlessly based off this data. And there are good examples of such omni-channel execution through QR codes and unified loyalty programs where customers then benefit from both shopping online and shopping offline. And yes, giving the floor back to Glebs.
Thank you,
Great experience.
Andres. We are switching like estafette. So, four things that we heard over the dinners. This was one of the popular things that there is internal cannibalization happening, like one channel eating another. And for concrete, it's sales between online and offline channels. I mean, they are not much enhancing each other, but business can see that online is eating the offline business. Here on this chart, with the blue is visualized the online revenue of the business, with the green, the offline overall. And default assumption, what we have heard and we saw for some business frequently is that with introducing a proper online experiences, omnichannel experiences, the expectation, like the assumption that it will eat up slowly the offline business, it won't so much grow the total business. Total business will grow a bit will grow, but still it will be eating up. So it's not adding much of the extra value. While in reality, with proper omnichannel strategy, it needs to be vice versa. So it needs to be increased. So it's online and the other channels, proper omnichannel is adding extra to the total of the business. So it's not just another sales channel that eating up something, but it's adding to the extra. And it's adding since proper omnichannel strategy should really increase the overall purchase frequency. So you become more available at more places for your consumer, and you're leveraging both channel strong sides. That's in practice, if omnichannel strategy is well executed, that's what's happening. But let's look at the pain points why internal cannibalization may happen when it's not executed properly. So one of the reasons are a lot of price stickers, but in different channels, meaning that there can be simply price differences between channels, and there can be specific promotions run in one channel and not run in another. So it's not aligned, and user may by default prefer one channel than another because of more preferable price or conditions or promotions running there, but not another channel. Second pain point is that, like we simply, as Anders also was mentioning, that not much understanding the proper omni-channel behavior of the customers. They can be in store, but at the same time, they can be just looking at the products, browsing, adding them to the online cart. A lot of such things can be happening, and we simply need to realize we have this limited understanding without the proper tools specifically. So last pain point that's related with cannibalization, there can be more. We just summarize the top ones, is that it's simply misaligned KPIs. Andres was also mentioning, so all these sections are really correlating and solutions are quite unified, but misaligned KPIs is definitely the one leading to the internal cannibalization. Simply offline team fight for their business, online team fight for their business, but they don't look at the total picture and they try each trying to get their own thing. We saw the most successful omnichannel strategies are when the management is setting up all the bonuses and the benefits and alignment between the both teams. So it's really unified. There is a bonus from the total revenue, not just specific channels. And many businesses think that e-commerce sales overall cannibalize in-store sales. So they have this feeling inside of them, and it's normal. They can cannibalize, but it's not normal if it's not leading to the total business growth. So what solutions were practical ones we see from it? And I think here we'll overall summarize like more things into the one, since it's one of the last topics for today. So very simple solutions. Just having harmonized pricing strategy. Do not offer different price tags on different channels. Secondly, have same with the promotions and marketing campaigns. Have one unified marketing team that's responsible for the both channels. Do not split them. Legacy, like due to the company evolution, natural, that's how it usually happens. These teams become detached from one to another, but they need to be merged in a omnichannel first mindset. All omnichannel best practices to be implemented. Both is buy online, purchase in store, buy in store, deliver home. All best practices we've been covering today simply needs to be implemented. Digital in-store experience to be leveraged, the parts what Andres been also referring to, extending offline catalog with the online and all alike things. Unified loyalty program. Unified loyalty program is very important and with proper incentives, not just like it's a loyalty programs that works online and doesn't work really. It's kind of is, but not really working in physical environment. But there are proper incentives on every channel. Real-time inventory sync is no-brainer. You need to have same products available on every channel you're selling to. And very boring thing is training, but that gives the best results. So simply in-store people, and this in-store people can rotate, right? They can rotate every year. We have a clients where this rotation is 100% of the in-store personnel, but there needs to be a very robust training program and aligned reward program for in-store people. Andres, coming back to you. Our last challenge that we heard over the dinners.
Yes, and that's also our last switch between the screens. And there are a
Not
lot of different
completely, there will
challenges.
be one more switch, I think.
One more switch. All right. One more switch. And a lot of times during the dinners, we hear many different practical things. But sometimes there more are also things that aren't really tangible, but rather on a strategic level. So one of them is gaining executive support for online investments, often very difficult to achieve. And if you look at some of the things that we marked down as quotes we gathered, I'm sure many different teams recognize stuff like this sounds good in theory, but how do we know that it will justify the costs? Or this sounds risky. I'm not convinced it will bring the change. Or sometimes they just say that we're doing fine without this. Why do we need to fix something that's broken? Or why do we need to introduce something new? And it really comes down to what the executives are looking for, what they're thinking when they hear a new, interesting, inspiring idea that they're not really sure of. They look at, is it really aligned with where the business is trying to go for? Does it fit somewhere on the roadmap? Does it take us closer to our goals? And then, secondly, they look at the return on the investment. So, if we do implement this change or if we do introduce a new loyalty program, what is the bottom line effect on the business? This is really, really important to understand. And thirdly, with every new change that we bring either online or offline or anywhere in the business, there's risks associated with it. So they're also looking for how to mitigate the risks as much as possible. And to address the first thing is actually going back to what we have been emphasizing on multiple different sections throughout the day's webinar is to make sure that all teams are working towards the same goals. Klebs has emphasized it before. I've emphasized it before. And it is really coming down to this because if we have teams working in different directions, it's really, really difficult to push for omni-channel and online first solutions. And secondly, how to address return on investment and risk mitigation. Very common with large scale implementations across big businesses. And we have, in Scandinavia, we have faced this challenge many, many times. And we have developed a framework that we think works in practically any business. And it all goes down to conducting proper research, really putting together all of the data points that point towards that this needs to be changed, this there is an issue, there is an opportunity. We lay the groundwork by understanding the landscape, understanding the consumer, and then based on the data that we gather, we formulate our hypothesis. So if we do implement this loyalty program, what would happen? Or if we introduce this big change to digital product presentation, what could be the advancement, the KPI change? And then we go in and we don't implement the solution fully, but we go in and manually implement this change for some few aspects of the sites or a few products. And then we test it as a proof of concept and see how it performs against the previous experience. And you might ask, what can be tested? Are there any limitations? But not really. Even the craziest and most technically difficult concepts can be narrowed down to a proof of concept and tested to get real data behind the implementation idea and then pitch it to the rest of the teams or the management. And a good example of this is actually one of our previous case studies where with a sports retailer we collected data from our customers for a longer period of time, and we saw that firstly there was web analytics that was pointing us towards that there is a drop off on product pages. Then there was qualitative data from customers that were sharing feedback post purchase on the product pages that they're looking for more information. And often we found out that customers actually are navigating away from the site, breaking the user journey to those actual brands websites like Nike websites, Adidas websites, to gather information about the products. And of course, revamping product pages with product specific content, personalized content for tens of thousands of products is a very, very big and costly implementation. And for that, we built a proof of concept. We implemented it manually for some top performing products to validate the results before this large scale implementation. And what came out to be was that the transactions ended up increasing very significantly. Customers had much more confidence in their purchase decision just because we answered their questions. And it goes back to the previous section where I was talking about product presentation. Digitally, you need to solve your consumers' questions. And as I said, there usually is no need for a big investment up front. You can come up with a proof of concept within 90 days to work in sprint and really go in, do the research, prepare, draft a hypothesis, build this proof of concept, validate it through testing, and then if it brings good results, we can work on this large scale implementation with data driven results. It's already proven it's going to work. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes we don't get things right with the first go, and that's completely fine as well. It's if we know that there are data sources backing our hypothesis, our idea that something needs to be adjusted on the site, or something needs to be introduced, people are reporting it's missing, then we just need to reiterate and test some more until we come to the solution that brings the results we're looking for. And with that, I think we're
Yeah,
going to
super.
do
So
the.
yeah, I think no need to switch cameras. You were completely right. There are just two slides, and I think we are done with the sharing challenges. So, if any of these challenges sounds familiar, we're happy to run some free discovery sessions to see what are the most practical solutions applicable for your pain points. So feel free to reach us to our emails. Also, as a follow-up, you'll get some materials, and feel free to just answer on it if you feel any of the challenges sound really familiar. And yeah, we really wrapping up here, but one note, whatever this proof of concept you're building, whatever the solutions for the challenge that you'll be implementing, it's only makes sense to do it now if they are built in with AI first mindset. That's also what we are helping to ensure and set in a proper place that any solution that out there is being built today is AI first. So, guys, thanks a lot for the attention. It was great sharing with you all the insights we gathered for this 12 months speaking with the retailers. And drop any questions. We'll process them afterwards as a follow-up thing. So drop any simplest question you can have in the head. Feel free to drop it off